Well, now that the January transfer window has closed, we can look back at the business that Saints did. If you're watching live, I'd be interested to see how you would rate the transfer window out of 10. So, by my reckoning, David Brooks and Joe Rothwell coming in, Charlie Alcaraz and Mason Holgate going out. Glenn, you're happy with that, I guess? David Brooks coming in?
David Brooks, definitely. Joe Rothwell, to be confirmed. Haven't seen enough at the moment to suggest that that's going to be good. I was wondering sort of how he was going to get game time along with all the other players. Maybe we knew at the time that Charlie Alcaraz was going to move, but yeah, I'm happy with Brooks and yeah, Rothwell's got a bit to prove. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. I said at the time, I didn't really know what sort of player he was. Saw a little bit of him driving forward against Rotherham. He doesn't look like a defensive midfielder. He doesn't look like a tackler. He doesn't look particularly like he's quick about the park. Sort of off the ball. Doesn't seem to be a lot of defensive nous there. So yeah, I think he's a sort of Stuart Armstrong type of player, even more so than a Will Smallbone type of player. So we're taking the place in the squad that Alcaraz has vacated, I guess is I guess that suits him. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But David Brooks, I'm looking forward to seeing play, even if it's only as a sub to start with, unless someone gets injured.
Let's talk about the Charlie Alcaraz one. It was, I don't know, it kind of makes sense the more you think about it, Steve. When I saw that he was off and I saw the links, you thought, I don't know if this is a good idea. And then you kind of read some of the explanations behind it and you think actually it might kind of work out best for all of us.
I mean, from a financial perspective, it's it kind of makes a fair bit of sense. We get a chunk of money in now, which allays any even potentially lingering fears that we had that we might be sort of skirting on the edge of profit and sustainability limits. I don't think we'll be anywhere near them now with that, and obviously his wages are off the books, I think. So yeah, I think from the short term perspective, it kind of makes a bit of sense in that he's not getting a regular game in the team. And I mean, I don't for 1 minute think that he's necessarily a sort of troublemaker or anything. But if he's been even just asking the question of why am I not playing, and he's not getting a satisfactory answer, then you run the risk of making a player unhappy, and that can breed throughout the team. So I think letting the player go to somewhere else and Juventus is a massive club. It's a huge step up for him. Which I find extraordinary, given that he can't get, as I say, he can't get into a championship team, and yet he's been wanted by the team that are currently top of Serie A. So be very interested to see how he gets on there. Maybe the Italian game is more suited to him. Maybe he gets plenty of game time, and actually Juventus do somehow find 45 million euros down the back of a sofa somewhere. But I mean, quite frankly, I don't think they've got the money. So
you think he'll be back in the summer, or maybe looking for somewhere else?
I'm 99% certain. I mean, 99% certain he won't be at Juventus next season. That's for sure. Because quite simply, I don't think they've got the finances to do it. But especially for a player that's only played at the level that he's played at, really. I mean, he's got about 15 games in the Premier League where he stood out in a god awful team. I mean, you can't. It's very difficult to read an awful lot into that, sort of one way or the other, I think. But it'll be very interesting to see how he gets on. It might be that him going there and doing a bit doesn't necessarily need to pull up any trees, but he'll learn a lot there, certainly in terms of tactics. Because one thing that's been very evident is that one of the key reasons why he's not getting regular games for us is because he doesn't seem to listen to instructions. From a defensive and sort of tactical perspective, he is all over the place. And while when he's on the ball, that's a good thing because he can cause chaos, as we saw last 15, 20 minutes of that game at Watford, where he suddenly started running directly and causing a lot of hassle for their defence. When you're in a more structured phase of the game and you're having to do defensive work, but you're not tracking runners, and you're not kind of getting back into defensive shape and pressing in the right areas and things like that, then the whole system can fall apart. And we found in the Watford League game that he played that in both halves the midfield completely fell apart when we lost the kind of control of the game. So hopefully that side of the game is something that he'll be able to learn in a country where tactical strength is one of the big selling points, I think, of Italian football, or certainly has been over the years. So hopefully, if he comes back in the summer, we're a Premier League side again, and he's happy to come back, and he's learned a few things, and we go again.
Yeah, Jason Wilcox's comments were very oriented around him coming back and playing for something next season, weren't they? After the transfer, I think the other clever thing that it probably does when I look at it is, you've got Alcaraz's agent talking about these other 2 Premier League clubs that wanted him in January. For Saints, setting this sort of 45 million valuation, it lets other clubs know what they're going to be looking for. If anyone comes in the summer, they're going to have to sort of stump up some cash for him. So there's no chance you're going to get him on a 20 million bid or anything like that. They've set their marker out. This is what we think he's worth. He either comes and plays for us or you pay it.
And he signed that new deal as well, didn't he, Glenn? Just back in the summer, wasn't it? Not that long ago. So they've protected the value of the asset there for sure.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I thought that was a bit of a strange one at the time because he'd obviously only been there 6 months, whatever, and you're signing a new contract after 6 months. So it was obviously more a business decision than a rewarding a player for, or trying to get him to stay for a long period of time. It's just the way the modern game is, I guess. You often hear about protecting the value of the asset with contracts running down and Bosman rulings and all that sort of stuff, and that's why they offered Che Adams a 1 year, wasn't it, to try and stave off this fact that he's going to walk for nothing at the end of this year, in all likelihood. So
when they offered him 1 year,
I thought they offered him a 1 year. Sort of like earlier on this season.
This season was a 3-year contract offered.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay, fair enough.
It was the same money, but 3-year contract.
No more money. That's right.
Yeah. But but that's the sort of thing that goes on these days. Alcaraz is a strange one. I mean, on the face of it, why wouldn't you keep him here? I mean, if we were going to sell him permanently, 40, if Juventus had genuinely offered 45 million now, and you go, okay, fair enough, see you later. But loaning a player out for half a season, I mean, we did similar, I guess, with Bella-Kotchap at the start of the season. He's a player that Russell Martin wanted to work with, but we saw it was best for all parties to loan him out again. I don't really know how that one's going, whether he's likely to come back.
He had surgery on his shoulder injury that he had when he was here, and he hasn't played anything.
Yeah. I mean, was the intention there for him to come back? Because I know with some of them, like Chilette Azar,
my sort of presumption with him was that he didn't want to play in the Championship. That's sort of the vibe I think he got.
You had Chilette Azar and Lianco, who the club don't want. I'm gathering. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with all these guys at the end of the season, and Charlie Alcaraz. But no, I mean, now he's gone. It's a bit like with Tor Paul going to Turkey. You just hope they do as well as they possibly can, and either come back to us as a better player, or come back to us and we can sell them on for a bit more money than we would have done otherwise.
The other thing about the loans, you do get a few quid for these loans as well. Like, you don't get outrageous fees like you will for Charlie, 3 million. But like Paul Onuachu, I imagine they banked a few £100,000 just by loaning them out and stuff like that, as well as getting the wages off. So there's that sort of thing to consider from a business point of view.
I guess the success for us with the window too, Alfie, was more about the players that didn't go. Nikki got in touch with a question, and she said, could Alfie maybe provide any further details on what, if any, interest there was for Che Adams and Kyle Walker-Peters during the transfer window? Did the club have to work to try and keep them, or was there actually, at the end of the day, no bids? The attention was elsewhere.
Well, if there were any official bids, the club have kept it very quiet, I think is what I would say. I mean, Russell Martin's messaging has been that everybody was on board and, happy days. That's exactly how it worked out. I did hear one sort of like unverified whisper that West Ham did in fact make a bid for Walker Peters. It wasn't reported anywhere else after the interest, and I couldn't get anybody to verify it. So it's something that you just can't take as truth. But there's always going to be those sort of whispers around. The couple of times I did speak to Phil Parsons at the training ground or under 21s games, he always made the point of being a little bit worried about a bid coming in sort of last minute and maybe players knocking on the door, sort of asking to leave. I think we saw how the window ended in the summer and the effect it had. But Russell Martin spent deadline day walking his Cocker Spaniel, so he clearly wasn't that worried about it. The one person who Russell Martin did say had a bit of interest in the window that sort of did carry on was Jan Bednarek, and that was something that it wasn't really reported. It was a little bit sort of, I think it was Stade Rennes in France that it was reported around then, but they've kept hold of everybody. So I would like to think that the club sort of took a stance where it got a few days towards the end of the window and they said, well, that's it then. We haven't got time to replace anybody, so we're going to switch the phones off. But, if anything did happen, it's certainly been done in secret and maybe it'll come out later.
Are you happy with the strength of the squad, Glenn? Because we talked about this month in particular. There's a lot of big games coming up. Are you quite happy with those that stayed and the little additions?
I'm a little bit concerned in the fullback area. Now, we didn't think he was any good, but Holgate was an option there as well. And at the moment, James Bree is out injured. You've got a 17-year-old kid in Magoma who you wouldn't want to throw into a championship game. So I feel we might be a little bit short in that area. But other than that, with Joe Aribo coming back as well to bolster the midfield, then I am I'm reasonably happy with it. Their injuries and suspensions and stuff are going to happen to every team, and we just got to hope that we don't get a sort of like big injury in the defense. Just seems to be the area where we're a little bit short. I noticed we've just sent out that we just sent a lad out on loan to Harrogate as well, one of the under 23s. Sorry, his name escapes me. So Derek Abu, and is it the lad we signed from Arsenal? Is he still around?
Zach Arway is still in the 21s, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe one of those. Maybe we'll see one of those players on the.
Well, at the moment, Nico Lawrence is training with the first team. So Nico Lawrence obviously been recalled from Colchester, where he was injured for most of the start of the season. But he's somebody who Russell Martin's basically handpicked to come back, have a bit of training, have a look at, because he likes what he's seen from him. So maybe we'll see him maybe make a squad, make a bench at some point in the season.
Yeah, and was it Thierry Small as well? Thierry Small went. Was that another name? That
was a mutual termination. I can only presume that the club tried to find a fee for him all January, and then when it became apparent that nobody was going to pay for him, they let him go so that he could obviously go to Charlton. I mean, that's a strange one, isn't it? I think we don't know what forces are at work there, but whenever I watched him play for the under-21s, he was way better than everybody else. He's quicker, stronger, just so much more powerful. Can play all the way down that left side, but obviously he got 45 minutes for Ralph in Coventry. He looked awful, and then we never saw him again, which obviously isn't great man management, but to be fair, he didn't do anything to deserve a chance. So look, hopefully he does well at Charlton, right? We want to see players do well. I don't know if he's got an attitude problem. Nobody's sort of said that. So
do we want Charlton to do well, given given their replacements?
Their new manager will be the least of their worries.
Yeah. I mean, he cost the club at least a couple of £1 million, not Nathan Jones, although he did, Thierry Small. So it's one of those strange ones. That one didn't work, clearly.